What is up, guys? This is a series where we take a look over in Korea at a few picks that are doing a lot better now in 614. Just as a reminder, there's a giveaway down in the description for a few headsets and RP if you want to check that out, but let's jump into the video. And just to say, I was in Chicago this weekend. I'm really jet lagged, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds a bit different, but we're going to power through. We always do these first look videos in Korea just because they tend to try out new stuff more, they play more in theorycraft, so they might find these things a little bit sooner than we do. Anyway, Rammus is the first new one to pop his head up, not just in Korea either. He holds like a top 5 win rate in North America and Europe as well at the moment. At the moment, they're going Cinderhulk into Thornmail pretty much every single game. Then a Dead Man's Visage Banshees with mobility boots as well. It's just like rolling around not being able to kill but getting people killed anyway. He's a decent answer to AD carries right now because they're getting stronger, and also these kind of top lane carries like Irelia or even Jax as well. AD carries like Jhin, Ashe, or like even Jinx are becoming way more dominant, and Rammus is just like the perfect answer to shut them down. He's a really good ganker and he scales decently as well, which is ideal in this meta because early games still means a ton, right? But games are going a lot later, so you kind of have to have both now. He's really good versus AD junglers as well, of course, like Lee Sin, Master Yi, Graves, Kha'Zix. These guys are all pretty popular and they end up killing themselves rather than Rammus, or just Rammus survives long enough for his team to come and help him. Overall, in 614, it's like the itemization is really good in a more AD focused meta. Like he has his Thornmail kind of like built in with his W, plus a proper Thornmail and Cinderhulk, which got buffed recently. He's a really good ganker, which means he can have some early pressure. He can actually help his lanes like if they're starting to lose, but he's an extremely good pure tank and we don't really have many of them anymore. He's very hard to deal with just in general and very hard to kill, even for an AD carry who is built specifically to do it. Even with the Last Whisper, you're still going to struggle. So Sohna is one that isn't a massive surprise considering everybody is playing her right now this patch after like her mini rework. By the way, you know when Korean Lucian was like really popular and super broken, his win rate is about what Sohna is right now. That gives you an idea of just how good she is. She is really effective in bronze, silver, and gold. So she has like a good win rate in the other brackets as well, but in those three, she is like the top win rate out of every single champion. I guess it's just because she's harder to deal with. Her lane phase is okay, right? But statistically, at least, like she doesn't snowball very well. She's not even in the top 10 for quick wins. She's not like your Blitz or Leona who just set up kills after kills and make it impossible to come back in the game. As soon as you get to team fights though, she jumps to like the best win rate out of any support. So that is where she really shines. Grouped up with the auras and ultimate is like the perfect situation for her to do well in a game. Like her ult now reducing the cooldown of auras actually means she naturally scales very well with the game and becomes more effective even without a ton of items. We have like Athene's, Locket, Crucible, Ardent Sensor. All of these are so good in general and on Sohna as well. So itemization is like way too effective, and then we throw in a good kit of Sohna and she just becomes a monster pick. By the way, the most popular is wind speakers right now, maxing either your heal or your Q. Both are actually working pretty well, having good results, but the highest win rate is Keystone is actually going to be Thunderlord still to fight more in lane. She is my pick or ban this patch. I know it's a support, but she is just way too strong. The next one is the opposite. Not exactly expected, but Akali has made a massive jump back into the meta. So normally Akali is seen as a low elo stop champion, just like mindlessly killing people with too much damage. Actually right now she's better gold and above, so like gold, platinum, and diamond, especially in diamond actually. This is where like ending the game quicker comes into play. You have to use a lead you get to close it out. So she is my high elo pick. So she can be played top and mid, but top is a bit better right now, partially just because of the good matchups she has. So like Darius and Shen aren't that easy because they're so tanky, but Irelia, Yasuo, Riven, Trundle, all of these she can snowball a lead against. The new Gunblade is really good, and this was always going to happen. It's really strong on her, but then you combine it with like a Zhonya, a Rylai's, and Abyssal. Basically, she can build these semi-defensive items to survive but still do damage, which is exactly what she wants. She's been flying under the radar a bit, but held a top 10 win rate the past few patches. This time she's jumped up to top 5 for now. It's kind of coming from her insane ability to snowball, so she's not a late game champion really. Like you can one-shot people later, but you have to dive into their entire team to do it. That is not really where she excels. That's not why she's top tier. That is her early game power. You get a lead, you keep killing people, you run around, you end the game while you're still one-shotting people like level 9. This might not be for everyone, but if you are more of a player for like the lane phase, you're kind of aggressive, then you can get a few easy wins. Alright, another one that's very similar to this Pantheon, and before you all say I have a Pantheon fetish, again, just look at this, okay? This is his win rate over the past 5 patches. You can see he's been good for ages, but I've deliberately left him off for a while, just kind of like so you guys didn't say that I actually have a hard on for him. His win rate is over 60% in games under 25 minutes. That is absolutely insane. Once he gets ahead, it's so hard to stop him. It's still almost 55% before 35, but then it kind of falls down to below average, and the matchups are the reason he's back. He kind of crushes Irelia, Riven, Yasuo, Darius, Fiora, Gangplank, Trundle. Those are over half of the top lane picks in NA and Europe right now. So in over half of the games you play, you have a good favored matchup. Getting like a Ghostblade, a Black Cleaver, and then either Mordman Mortius or Asterix, you have this mix of damage but a bit of defense as well. Your E is going to apply the Black Cleaver so fast. You have the Ghostblade, which buffs all of your damage. Basically, you reduce their armor to nothing and just rip through people. In the lane phase, you're going to have some poke, which is good, and then you have an all-in as well. A block, which if you manage correctly, you can block twice in the same kind of second with your passive and W activator. Your ultimate is going to be the way you snowball though. So literally in the lane phase, you focus on getting a lead. You maybe kill your opponent a couple of times and get some gold, and then as soon as you hit level 6, you just base, you run to a different lane, ult down, and just snowball the game. Overall, this guy will get a lot more popular this patch, trust me. I think he's going to break out and be really, really popular. It might be a bit riskier than others, but in the right hands, he can kind of like 1v5 and win a game on his own. So Karthus is the next one, and I'm not sure if this is really expected or not, but I finally feel like he's worth talking about as a new champion in this patch. The big problem with Korea and Karthus is scripts are more popular, and Karthus is one of the most popular champions for it. It's sad, but it's actually true. So I have to be careful talking about him with them inflating the win rate. Anyway, so right now it actually makes sense though, and I think Karthus is a legit pick here. He's decent in other regions, and the meta has shifted, so early still means a decent amount, but games are going later as well. Karthus is different to most late game mages because he has early power and he scales as well. I actually just did that late game mage and like the air quotation marks on my fingers, but obviously guys, you can't see that. Anyway, if you hit those Q skittles, you can actually hurt so much. Plus your ultimate can help gank around the map. Dragon fights are so dangerous against Karthus with his AoE damage and his wall to zone people as well. The new Rod of Ages even helps him get going a bit sooner. Death by Touch as well. That is so ridiculous on him. It's definitely underrated because Death by Touch works on like how the ability actually is, whether it's single target, it's AoE and stuff like that, but AoE actually like applies for a second, which is pretty crap. The difference with Karthus is he can constantly refresh it, like he can constantly apply it because of his E damage. So basically every time someone is in your E, they're actually always burning from Death by Touch. The funny thing is it's actually really good before 30 minutes, like win rate wise anyway, and then becomes average. So mostly Karthus is getting a lead, getting items sooner, and reaching the kind of late game damage while still in the mid game. You have to think of this kind of like an AD carry. So the reason ADs are so scary when they get ahead is because they have more items and they scale better than other classes with items, like better than other roles. So Warwick is a big surprise for me though, because it doesn't fit the Korean style really. They want aggressive early pressure, and it's extremely rare for a late game champion actually to fit into the meta. Warwick's win rate before 25 minutes is absolutely terrible, like horrible, but after that it climbs to be one of the best late game. The trade-off is actually kind of becoming worth it, I think. Games are going longer now and he becomes unstoppable. There are a few things that have kind of like introduced him back into the meta. So the first one is the new Wit's End is 100% core on his second item. It's always Blood Razor and then Wit's End. You get the on-hit damage from both of these, which applies with your ultimate, and it also reduces magic resist, which increases the rest of your damage. After that, we normally get like a Visage, a Frozen Heart, and then Blade of the Ruined King, and items are definitely why he's so good. He's a very simple champion, right? Just like pretty basic kit-wise. It's the items that make the difference more than anything else. They're controlling if he's coming in or out of the meta. Blood Razor and Wit's End and Fervor are a lot of on-hit damage, which applies on his ult for crazy damage, but also just kind of cheap actually. Becomes effective a lot earlier into the game now. The new Visage is really good for his self-sustain, but I think it comes down to like the general game as well. It's going a bit later as we've said, but he can also solo dragons early, which are important, and gank once he gets level 6, so he actually has like all bases covered a bit. Honestly, he just reaches a point where you can't do anything. Quicksilver Sash is really inefficient now, so nobody wants to buy that, and it makes your life so much easier. They can't get out of your ultimate as easily. He's simple, yet he's very effective. Even Foxshop can play this and win a game with it, so you guys should be fine. On that bombshell, let's go to number 7, Sohna. So we talked about him a bit before, a fair amount, but now it's different. He's my low power pick. The new Triforce is what's really powered him back up. So Warrior into Triforce and then into Asterix or a Dead Man's Plate. And it's not really the Cinderhulk anymore, like into the Frozen Fist. I guess you could kind of go Cinderhulk into Triforce, but that's not the point. The point is to carry and kill people. You can literally one-shot people while they are stunned by you now with this item build. It's kind of crazy. He's been flying under the radar a lot because he's not the best early into the game, a lot like Warwick actually, but once you hit that like 2 to 3 item mark around 30 minutes in, he becomes a monster. You have a stun, you have his ultimate, move speed, shield, and the damage to actually ruin people. He has everything you could actually want really. Asterix is going to boost the Triforce Sheen proc damage, which is great, and you actually have a reliable way to constantly proc it. Plus Dead Man's gives you more burst and speed to catch people with your ult. Sohna has this misconception where he just ults people and that is it. That is not true at all anymore. He is a carry jungler and a very good one in Korea. Probably the best mix of utility and damage you can find right now. Very similar to like Hecarim, except he kind of just does more early, which is why he's more popular. He was actually popular a few patches ago because he just didn't die and still did damage. But now that's like not really what you pick him for. He can one-shot people while bringing a lot of extra stuff to help his team carry as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know who you think will be really strong now going into 6.14. I'm sorry if I sound a bit dead, but it is because I am dead. But that's all for this video, so I'll leave you with the robots.